meeting of the Dalton Selectboard to order. And just a reminder, this is a working session, so there'll be no time available for public questions or comments. And we're going to start off the meeting with a presentation on the proposed Granite State Landfill, and it's provided by Casella representatives. And again, this is just an informal presentation, so there'll be no public comments or questions. And just a reminder in terms of context, the proposed Granite State Landfill process is still in the early stages of the permitting process. And as I understand it, Casella has submitted revised permit applications for the solid waste permit and for the wetlands permit. And those are still under initial preliminary review by those agencies. I don't believe that they have been accepted as administrative complete at this point. And that's a step that will happen before the agencies do their formal in-depth review. So that's my understanding. So the process is still just really getting underway. And so with that, I will invite the Casella representatives to kick off the presentation.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Gay. I'm an engineer with Casella, responsible for the permitting for this project. With me tonight are some members of Casella as well, Kevin Roy, Jeff Weld, and Rebecca Metcalf. So we have prepared a slideshow to go through the project, just in very general terms. We wanted to get in here and provide the community some information about the project, where we are with it. So just as a quick overview, so Casella has been in New Hampshire providing solid waste recycling and organics management for upwards of about 30 years. We have infrastructure in the state, including transfer stations, hauling divisions, and of course our landfill in Bethlehem. We have managed about 485,000 tons of solid waste and recycling in 2023 throughout the company. Just a little background on the project. So our landfill in Bethlehem is going to be at capacity sometime in 2026, maybe 2027. So ideally what we'd like to be able to do is transition our operations from that facility to this facility in Dalton. So, you know, once all permits are obtained, we have a couple of 3 years of construction before we'd be able to start accepting trash. So we, you know, we've still got, you know, a window of 4 or 5 years before we would need that capacity. But that, in essence, is the plan, is to transition from Bethlehem to the site in Dalton. I think most everybody knows that the facility is located on 116. I have a plan that depicts the site location, but good access from the highway. The new project has a footprint of 70 acres. So when I refer to the footprint, this is the outer limit of where the landfill would be. So all the waste would be within that 70 acres. There's other disturbance outside of that to construct the landfill, stormwater ponds, roads, stuff like that. That encompasses about 150 acres, so just over double what the landfill footprint itself would be. And I got some slides that'll help understand that. So as proposed, this facility would provide about 18 years of capacity for our customer base in New Hampshire, which, you know, 18 years really isn't a super long time, but it will provide capacity for an additional 18 years beyond the 2026. Certainly there's potential for renewable energy projects, very common in today's modern landfill to have renewable energy projects associated with the facility. We haven't really done any detailed planning, you know, to work towards any renewable projects at this point. That might also be something that the community would be, you know, if we can, you know, get the project, there might be some opportunities to get some input from the community on what they might want to see. And then I think I already mentioned the highway access. Joe, Beth, you mentioned a couple of permits. I think we've also submitted the highway application, the driveway application permit, and the AOT application has been submitted as well. But otherwise, you're spot on. The solid waste application has been submitted. That went in December, as well as our New Hampshire standard dredge and fill, which is our wetlands permit application. That's also been submitted, and is in the early stages of review. And I think we've mentioned before that all these permit processes take a long time, and so we're in the beginning stages of that. This is a list of the permits, and there's still a couple that we have to submit. The 404, which is the Army Corps of Engineers permit application, and the 401 water quality certification application still need to be filed. We expect that those will go in January this year. So that'll, in effect, all the applications will be in and in process. So this is a bit of a locus. It might be hard for some of you folks in the back to see. It's just kind of a zoomed out plan that depicts the property and the landfill footprint. So if I can get everybody oriented here, this is 116. Sorry, am I right in your guys' way?
You're okay.
Okay. So 116 here. This is the Amanuzik. This is the existing chip sand and gravel access point down here. The red indicates all of Doug Ingerson's property. The purple represents the area of disturbance on the project area. So this is where we would need to improve roadways, build stormwater ponds, build our infrastructure area, and also the footprint of the landfill itself. So that's outlined in black and shaded in green. So this is the 70 acres of landfill footprint. That's where the waste would go. So now we'll zoom in a little bit closer. Again, the red property line is partially depicted. 116 here, the wood-fired power plant, the concrete facility, I think it's just down the road. The Rod and Gun Club is down here. And the Raleigh School is in the back. You see Forest Lake there. So the red property line again depicts the property. For anybody that's been into the facility, as you work your way into the site, Doug has for sort of this initial area where he crushes stone. That's this area here, this existing quarry area. So the landfill footprint is just beyond that. On this this ridge to the north and east of his road that goes all the way up to the line that's way up here at the end. So everything is on that side of the road. So what we want to do now is this slide depicts this red bullet here. We're going to zoom in on that area. We're going to talk about the new entrance at the facility that would be required, and then we'll move up to the infrastructure area, then the landfill itself. So this next plan will be a zoomed in of that spot right there. So probably a little bit hard to see. So we've submitted a driveway application with the New Hampshire Department of Transportation, and they're going to want to see some safety improvements made at the intersection, at the driveway entrance. This is the existing driveway here, and this is 116. What DOT wants to see is that the entrance to the facility is perpendicular to 116 for safety reasons, and they're going to require an access lane or a right turn lane coming from the Whitefield side. So, trucks and vehicles entering the landfill can, get into the right turn lane and allow vehicles to pass by. There'll be an island, with good sight distances on both sides, and all under the jurisdiction of the New Hampshire DOT. So we've submitted an application, we've been back and forth with them, answering their questions, and there too, we hope to see a permit soon from those folks. I probably just to mention before we get into the infrastructure area, which is this next blown up area that I'm gonna talk about, is the access road from here down to 116 is in pretty good shape. For those of you who've been there, it's a pretty well-established road, wide, holds up well to heavy vehicle traffic. So this is a blow up of what we call the site infrastructure area. So not far from where the quarry was on the prior slide, we have an area where we need to manage many things at the facility, to include trucks coming into the site. They need to be weighed in, they need to be weighed out. There's an area for that here. This would be we'd have a two-way scale, we'd have two scales with an attendant building in between. So trucks could get in, weigh, go up, tip, return, weigh empty, and go out. I think the traffic flow here is gonna work very well. Some of the other things we need to do in the infrastructure area is the modern day line landfill produces landfill gas, that must be collected and managed. So this area would provide the area to do that. And because the modern day landfill is lined below the landfill, we capture wastewater that's collected inside the footprint. That wastewater is pumped to tanks before it's hauled off site. That would happen in this area as well. And we would also have administrative offices and a maintenance building for truck maintenance at this location. So it's really kind of where everything happens at the facility, unrelated to the waste disposal piece. So all the infrastructure for the site. So now we're going to focus a little bit on the line footprint itself. So, as I mentioned, the line footprint is the area that we're going to place a plastic containment system. This landfill would be a subtitle D landfill, which meets all the federal regulations for a municipal solid waste disposal site, and also meets all the requirements for the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services rules and requirements for a solid waste disposal facility. So the landfill's 70 acres. We would not build the entire 70 acres all in the first, years of operation. We don't need that much acreage to start. So we've divided the landfill up into 6 separate cells, which is typical. That's the way all modern landfills are developed, usually permitted, to the 70 acres and then developed along the way. You build what you need. So there'd be like, 12, 13, 14 acre cells, independent cells, 6 of them, inside the 70 acres of footprint. So the 70 acres, again, is this line here, all the way around. Some of these lines outside of that is just grading, it's just engineering grading for the facility. These areas here are engineered stormwater ponds in locations where there aren't wetlands. Trying to manage the stormwater where we can without interfering with the wetlands functions and values. I should also mention that the wetlands application is proposing to take about 11.5 acres of wetlands for the project. So we'll be talking about mitigation efforts for the taking of 11.5 acres. You're gonna have to mitigate that, with other, saving other wetlands or doing development. So, that'll be part of the state's, process is to, provide a detailed mitigation, alternative to taking the 11.5 acres. So this is a little bit on the schedule. I mentioned that in 2026, at the end of 2026, we are required by permit in Bethlehem to be open until 2026. So we expect to meet that. And in all likelihood, we'll probably go into 2027 before that landfill is at capacity. And it's at that point that we hope we're over here. We've got our permits, we've built the first cell, got our infrastructure in, and we'll begin accepting waste. So, 2023 we submitted our permit applications with the exception of the two I mentioned. Those will go in this month. 2024 permitting, and if we start to gain permit approvals on certain things, we can start building certain things as we go. So that's what I have.
I got a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
No.
We got a lot of residents that have a lot of questions, but this is not a question and answer night. Would you, if we set up a place, would you come in and answer questions for Dalton residents? If we could set up, I don't know, we'd have to talk about it, but maybe have a cookout or something and have you come in and the town residents possibly be able to ask some questions.
I actually have a
Yes.
question regarding that, is in terms of the wetlands permit application process and the solid waste, there are requirements for public hearings, correct?
Yes.
So do you have any idea of the timing for those public hearings?
I would venture a guess that most of our public hearings will be late summer, early fall.
Of this year?
Of 2024.
And have the agencies, agreed to have those hearings in the North Country?
You'd have to ask the agencies that. They hold, I would expect that they would have my experience has been that they will have the public hearings in, as close to the project area where a venue would allow.
Okay, so those should be late summer or fall?
Yeah, they would begin. There's gonna be several of them for the various permit, applications that are in, so there'll be a series of them. But Tom, certainly to answer your question, absolutely, we asked to get on the agenda for this, we wanna get in and talk to the community more, answer questions, so we would be amenable to that.
All right, appreciate that. The other thing is, I understand that you had a host community agreement that you came in years ago. Then and that was the footprint was a lot bigger, and then you withdrawed, and now it's only 70 acres. Does that still stand, or is that something that they would redo another agreement? Can you tell me anything about that?
Yeah, so the original concept and the basis of our first round of permit applications were based on a landfill footprint of about 137 acres, I think, so we're about half that. But yeah, absolutely. That wouldn't be me. I'm just the permitting guy.
Right.
But I know that there would be, staff that would be more than willing to come talk to the town about a host. We prefer that, actually.
Okay.
To have a host community agreement in place, yes. Thank you.
So with these plans, I have a couple of questions. Is Chick expecting to continue his gravel operations?
Yes.
Right adjacent to that? Okay. And then, are there any plans on this site for things such as a transfer station, commercial composting facility, or renewable natural gas facility, which it sounds like from what you said that's pending, and a recycling facilities on this site?
So I'll try to walk down the list. So not a transfer station for sure, because this would be the end disposal site, so we wouldn't be transferring any waste back out. gas of some, you know, before we can, develop a renewable energy project, trash has to go in, start to decompose, and generate landfill gas. That's where the value is. And so, there would be a renewable energy project. We do have space, dedicated for that, on the footprint, which is here. This is a future renewable energy area. This would be the area where we would manage our gas here, renewable energy here, scales here, wastewater holding here, and offices and a maintenance shop. So that's what's proposed.
Okay, so in terms of other things such as recycling facilities or commercial composting facilities, those are not part of the plan?
Not a commercial composting facility, not part of the plan. Again, maybe something that could be discussed in a host community arrangement. And recycling, so as part of our application, for the solid waste, the solid waste permit, and our public benefit with that permit application, we have proposed, to site and build and operate, a large-scale recycling facility for the state of New Hampshire.
But that would not be located here?
It would not be
So
located.
it's really separate from this project?
I don't know where it'd be located, to be honest. I don't know. But it would, we would need to site one and, like this, try to get the permits for one.
I have another question. Will the Dalton Conservation Commission and their experts be allowed on this property during the period when it's most beneficial for them to see it, like when the vernal pools are active?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we did extend an opportunity for the Dalton Conservation Commission to come out because they did express some interest in visiting the site during the growing season, knowing that our application was going to go in not in the growing season, and that offer was declined. So I think that that would probably be a matter for law, and we'd have to, that would be out of my control. So we would have.
I don't understand how it'd be out of your control, but that's probably a
Well, my
discussion for another.
control. I wouldn't make that decision myself.
Okay.
I think it would be a legal question at this point.
Okay. Do you have a question?
I do. So the original permit application was for 18, is now 18-year landfill, and the last one was for 38. Are there future expansions to go to 38? Are we starting out at 18 and then going to 38 years?
We're starting at 18 and staying at 18 at this point. There is no plans for future expansion here.
There is no plan?
No.
And have you reached out to Whitefield since they are bordering all of this and the trucks will be coming through their town?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think we've gone to Whitefield. I know that we had some conversations with DOT about Whitefield, looking at some safety questions down there. But I have not been to the Whitefield Selectboard, no.
Are you going to reach out to
It's a
them?
good question. I think that was something I would take a note of.
I mean,
and
they will be affected by this as well.
yeah, it's I appreciate the question, and I'll put some
It
consideration.
seems like the
on that.
surrounding communities, not just Whitefield, but also Bethlehem, Littleton, et cetera, will be impacted as well. So are there plans to reach out to the broader community?
Again, so I've been so focused on this project, I know, I also oversee our line landfill in Vermont, and I've been to many of the towns for that landfill, answering questions that they might have, regionally, and so that is something that we would take into consideration here, I think.
Paul, Carol, do you have questions?
Make a I'm all set for now.
Okay, thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
We're gonna continue with